Now, a book by a Portsmouth author has already clocked up nearly 2.5 million online reads. The novel, titled Reasons to Love a Nerd Like Me, is aimed at a teenage audience, and its author Becky Jerams from Portsmouth joins us in the studio to tell us all about it. So Becky, why is it called Reasons to Love a Nerd Like Me? Were you a nerd? Are you a nerd?
I am a bit of a nerd,
okay.
Which I guess is kind of influence for my main character. The main character of my story is a nerd called Scotty. He's a gay teenager in sixth form college of a fictional place called Havensdale, which I made up. And it's kind of about his trials and tribulations. He faces bullying whilst he's at college, and it's just about his life and his love interests and his trials and tribulations, I guess.
That's quite unusual, writing a book about a kind of openly gay teenager. How did that idea come about?
I've always loved reading books with a lot of diversity in it. And when I decided to tackle a novel aimed at teenagers, I wanted to write something which might be relevant to teenagers today, maybe something which isn't tackled a lot for that audience, and bring it to maybe more of a worldwide audience. So that's something which I just really wanted to try and tackle.
And just tell me a little bit about what happens to your main character. What kind of you said trials and tribulations, and obviously there's bullying, but what sort of things does he come up against, and how does he deal with them?
Well, he has a very big secret, which he's keeping from his best friend Olive, and which involves the bully, who is Taylor, who's actually bullying him. And there's a big question mark over his head about whether he wants to try and reveal the secret or keep it under wraps. And as well as that, there's a love interest, a bad boy rock star called Vincent Hunter, who is he's got a very bad reputation around the school, who he kind of has a bit of a fascination with. So it's kind of his relationship with these characters around him and how they kind of unravel and cause him a bit of trouble whilst he's at college.
What I'm kind of being reminded of is, you know, in those sort of quite traditional teenage movies where there's the kind of little bit geeky one, little bit unpopular one, who's then kind of got this massive crush on whoever the kind of coolest person in the school is. It's a little bit of a twist on that, is it?
It is. I kind of wanted to bring maybe, I guess, a bit of a fluffy mainstream romance with a character who is openly gay and who is fine with who he is and accepts himself. I always find when I read sort of novels which are aimed for this audience, they tend to be a bit very dramatic, and maybe the character sort of is a bit self-loathing, but I wanted to kind of bring a character who was confident, who was a geek, but they accepted themselves for who they are, and kind of bring a sort of different kind of a role model to the main character of my story. And yeah, make just something aimed at teenagers, which is just a regular love story which just happens to have a gay lead in it.
Because one of the things that strikes me is that, I mean, when I was growing up and when I remember watching or reading kind of teen fiction, being a nerd or being a geek was kind of one of those things that did sort of bring a lot of self-loathing and was kind of quite looked down on. Whereas now there's the whole kind of geek chic movement, and it's somehow not so awful to be a nerd.
Definitely, and I think that I think that I wanted to reflect real life, because I mean, growing up I was quite nerdy, but I had all of my friends. We were also kind of nerdy, and we were happy with how we were, and I wanted to reflect the way I grew up at school within these characters that I've created. There's a side character called Olive, she's the head girl. She's very nerdy, and again, she's kind of got big poofy hair, big bottle lens glasses, but she doesn't want to conform to the way everybody expects her to be. So yeah, I really had fun kind of inventing these characters and giving them a bit of a different twist, I guess.
It's good to know that the head girl doesn't always have to have great hair and everything. And alongside this, first of all, alongside this, you are also a singer-songwriter. Tell me a bit about that.
Yes, I've been a singer-songwriter. Well, I've been out singing locally in Portsmouth since I was about 16.
Wow.
I'm signed to a music publishing company, and I do a lot of writing for other artists. I'm trying to pitch stuff out we do a lot of stuff for artists in Asia and Japan. So that's something I've been trying to get into. I've been doing a lot of songwriting camps last year with some Asian songwriters. So, and I go out and I play acoustically as well, just sort of solo acoustic stuff. But I tried to bring my songwriting to my book, and there is actually a song within the book called Reasons, which Vincent Hunter sings, the bad boy rock star. So that's a real life song which I kind of wrote and then wrote into the book. So I kind of tried to weave both sides of my creative passions into this one project, which was quite good fun.
That's fascinating, writing songs for kind of Asian artists that presumably people here have never heard of and
Yes.
probably never will hear of.
It's an absolutely huge market, and a lot of songwriters are going to Japan and Korea because they have such a huge output of artists who don't write for themselves, who want pop songs.
Yeah.
Whereas in UK, it's a lot more closed off, and it's a lot harder to, like, most people are kind of singer-songwriters themselves that don't really want pop songs written for them.
Okay.
So that's why there's a
Or at
huge...
least they don't want people to think they have pop songs
or they
written
maybe,
for them.
it's a lot harder to get into the UK pop scene, so that's why, Asia's really taking off. And some of the bands out there are absolutely, like, huge when you see them playing their, like, Tokyo Dome and places like that. The amount of people who go to see them, it's just insane. We've never heard of them, but out there they're like massive, like Katy Perry level of fame.
Wow.
So it is an exciting market, but it does mean that usually lyrics will be translated into Japanese or Korean.
Really? So you write the lyrics in English?
Yeah, or they might get completely rewritten into something different with maybe little elements of English kept in. So sometimes when we're writing, we might not pay that much attention to the lyrics. It's more about getting like little buzzwords and cool things like that will sound like good to a Japanese ear rather than something that's really deep and meaningful. So yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I've been doing it for a year or so now, and it took a while to get used to it because I'm a very lyrical person, but it's good fun and I enjoy it a lot.
Can you give us some lyrics that you've written?
I'm trying to think of some things off the top of my head. We do tend to go a bit crazier with the whole writing for Japan. And I remember once I kind of wrote something just within 10 minutes. I had 10 minutes to just write something. We had la la la, and I was just seasons, winter, like just writing random words out. And it was not my best work, but it doesn't matter if it would get as long as the melody sounded good and the words fit the melody. So
that's absolutely crazy. And just finally coming back to your book, so you've had 2.5 million reads online, basically.
Yes, there's a website called Wattpad. It's like a free website, and that's kind of how I started. I just stumbled across this website and thought I'll give writing a go and see if anybody likes what I've got to write about, and it just kind of snowballed. And I've had messages from teenagers all around the world, and also places like India and the Philippines, where it's sort of a bit more like people aren't quite as tolerant over there, and going online and reading stories like this is the only way they can really speak to other gay teenagers. So it's kind of think it's made a bit more of an impact to people in countries like that than perhaps in UK, but it's always really great to hear from teenagers around the world about that something that I wrote has made a difference in their life in some way and helped them in some way. So it's been so lovely to like hear their feedback.
That's fascinating. And are you going to try and get it kind of published in hard copy, or are you happy with it?
I've put it out as an ebook at the moment via Amazon. And I would like to get some physical copies printed, but it's just the printing prices. Doing it completely solo, I think that it would be quite hard. But I'm definitely looking at writing more in the series, and maybe writing different series and different kind of genres, and maybe trying to go down maybe a more traditional route if I keep improving on my craft, and maybe in the future getting some physical copies done.
Becky, it all sounds really, really exciting. Thanks for coming in
Thank you for having
me. About it. And obviously, if people want to read your book, they can find it on Amazon, or on this Wattpad is the website.
Wattpad, free. It's gone to a free sample now. The free version is taken down, but there is a sequel, which the first draft is up for free, which you can read.
Wow.
Or you can download it on Amazon Kindle. It's $2.99 from Amazon, so it's not too much. It's about 508 pages, so you get quite a lot for $2.99.
Becky, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.